Let me tell you a story. It's Game 5, a winner-take-all battle between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. It's the bottom of the ninth inning, a 2-1 ball game. The Giants are down to our last out. There's a runner on first base, 0-2 count, 1 strike remains, and the Giants season being over. Wilmer Flores is up to bat, with all the pressure in the world on his hands and the season on the line. One swing can advance the Giants to the next round and continue their hopes of winning a World Series. The crowd waits nervously. The pitch is delivered, and it's way outside the strike zone. Flores thought about it for a second, but he pulled his bat back before it was too late to be called a check swing, strike 3. First base umpire, Gabe Morales, then delivered the game-deciding call. Flores swung. Strike 3, game over. Today, I will persuade you that the MLB should replace umpires with robots. I'm credible in persuading you on this topic today due to the extensive hours of research I put into this speech. You should listen to me persuade to you today because it'll make you happier, as you'll now know that with one simple change, the fan experience will be extremely better for the game of baseball worldwide. First, I'll start with the problems of MLB umpires. Second, I'll move on to what causes these problems to occur. Next, I'll go over some solutions I came up with, and lastly, I'll go over the opposition. Now that you're aware I'm going to persuade you that the MLB should replace umpires with robots, let's first start with the problems. Our first problem is inconsistent calls. Inconsistent calls have ultimately altered the impact or outcome of many crucial games over the years. In the 2022 season alone, there's been over 21,000 missed balls and strikes made by umpires across the league. An outstanding number. All it takes is just one of these calls to differentiate a team from making the playoffs or missing the playoffs. One of the most infamous umpires in the league today, Angel Hernandez, has been known for being one of the least efficient and least reliable umpires, making many incorrect calls over his career. Sam Conan, a Sports Illustrated writer and analyst, wrote in an article that in 2023 regular season, Angel Hernandez finished as the lowest rated umpire in the entire MLB. And in only 10 games officiated, he racked up 161 bad calls, which is an outstandingly terrible statistic, which is shockingly true. Our second problem is the lack of accountability that these umpires face when making a bad call. When they make these bad calls, there is zero communication between the umpires and the managers and players when they question the umpires for making these calls, which leads to many arguments between these players and umpires. And although it's very entertaining to see players go toe-to-toe with umpires throughout games, it is very unnecessary for the game of baseball, as it leads to a lot of delays over calls that will never get changed. Because once the umpires make up their mind, that's it, it's final, and they will double down on it and just throw you out the game. After addressing the problems, next we can find out what caused them. Our first cause to our problems is the umpire limitations. The umpires don't have much decision time when judging proper pitches. Since pitches are coming in at 90, 100 miles per hour and moving all throughout the strike zone, and while having catchers trying to deceive the umpire with framing pitches in certain spots to deceive the umpire between making the right or wrong call, there's a lot of limitations for umpires in making the perfect call in the moment. Also, the angle and perspective umpires have judging the game also plays an impact on making the right call. Also, the human error plays an impact as well, as since they're human, they are expected to make mistakes as the rest of us would if we were thrown in to make the right calls in crucial moments. Zach Reimer, an analyst for Bleacher Report, mentioned in an article that unfortunately there's nothing the MLB or umpires can even do about making these mistakes, as they're only human, and it's just a part of the game of baseball. Our second cause for these problems are the technological advancements that have been introduced to the MLB in recent years, including StatCast, instant replay, and pitch tracking systems. These are used to show where the pitches are located, how fast they're coming in, and where they're located throughout the plate on every single pitch throughout the game. And since we have these advancements nowadays, they just showcase the umpires' mistakes on a greater platform and just showcase their flaws to everyone. And if we have these advancements, why can't we use them to replace these umpires? What's the point of having all this technology if we can't use it to make the right calls in the moment, and we still have these umpires out here judging these games, making incorrect calls that impact everything? I've now shown you what caused these problems. Next, I want to discuss some solutions I put together. My first solution is to hold umpires accountable. As mentioned before, umpires don't really face many consequences for making these bad calls. Therefore, they should be subject to demotions for making bad calls over a certain stretch of games. Just like how MLB players are sent down to the minor leagues for poor performances, umpires should be held to that same standard. By using scorecards that judge umpires on a game-to-game basis, these will show the criteria for umpires. If they meet the criteria, then they will be demoted to the minor leagues, just like players would be sent down for poor performance. Will Middlebrooks, a former MLB player who's had firsthand experience with umpires making bad calls, said via Twitter that even though he doesn't want robot umpires necessarily, he still wants umpires to be held accountable. And if a player gets sent down to the minors for poor performance, then umpires should be held to that same standard. My second solution is the automated ball strike system. This system takes advantage of the Hawkeye tracking system consisting of cameras all throughout every MLB stadium that establishes a strike zone for every hitter in the league. For example, the automated ball strike system uses different heights for each player to determine a strike zone. Jose Altuve, who's only 5'6", has a shorter strike zone. Meanwhile, Aaron Judge, who is 6'7", has a taller strike zone. Each team gets 3 challenges throughout the game that they can use to determine whether they want to challenge a call or not. And this system has been used in the minor league system for a couple seasons now and has seen a lot of success. Jordan Walker, a top prospect of the St. Louis Cardinals, who has played several years in the minor league system and is now a current MLB player of the Cardinals, said in an interview with MLB.com that he really enjoys the automated ball strike system. And if you think the umpire was wrong, you can just check it out and determine it for yourself. And he thinks it's a really good addition to the game. Even with these proposed solutions, there are some oppositions who may not be fully convinced. Our main opposition is the tradition and human element of the game of baseball and umpires being behind home plate. It's been a staple of the game of baseball for hundreds of years, with umpires being there judging the game. And old-fashioned fans would be devastated if umpires got removed from the game of baseball, because there's not much left now. With all the rule changes over the years, all the brand new technology impacting the way baseball has been played, umpires has been the long constant of what baseball has been all about. To disprove this opposition, fan experience would greatly improve from umpires being removed and be replaced by robot umpires, as fans no longer have to worry about their teams being screwed out of a win due to an incorrect call made by umpires when they should be right because it's their job to do so. Robert Manfred, the commissioner of MLB himself, said in an interview with the New Yorker magazine that this system is going to be way more accurate and will reduce all controversy and will be better for the game of baseball as a whole. I hope that I've helped address the opposition. With that being said, I will conclude. Today, I persuaded you on the problems of umpires in MLB today, the lack of accountability and inconsistent calls. Next, I showed you what caused those problems with umpires making inconsistent calls, technological advancements. Next, we moved on to the solutions of holding umpires accountable and the automated ball strike system. And lastly, I showed you the opposition of the tradition and human element of umpires in MLB. What if Game 5 was called the right way? The Giants would have had one last chance to save their season, and you never know, one hit from Wilmer Flores could have decided it and walked it off for the Giants, and that could have been the start to their road to the World Series, but we'll never know thanks to one bad call at the worst possible time by an umpire.